Welcome to our morning show on WRCO Radio. I'm Phil Nee, and we're here to talk to some friends from Ithaca Schools. An important morning show. A reminder for parents that 4K screening is coming up. And in to talk about that today is Mrs. Brittany Penfield, 4K teacher at Ithaca. Also, Miss Jenna Whipperfirth, early childhood elementary special education teacher. Mrs. Andrea Newkirk is here, reading specialist and instructional coach. And then batting cleanup, we have Kathleen Shane, elementary principal as well, to join us here today. Well, good morning, ladies. And Brittany, we'll start with you. It's at that time of year again. It's hardly seems possible.
I say it every year. I don't know how it comes around so fast, and it's kind of strange because you're in the middle of a current year and then you're already getting ready for the next year, but it really helps us get prepared and get these students off to a great start once they're ready to start school. Tell
me about 4K at Ithaca and the hours and how that works.
Yeah, so we're actually a half-day program. So we have a morning group that attends Monday through Thursday from 8 to 11:30 in the morning. And then our afternoon group attends Monday through Thursday as well from 11:30 to 3 o'clock.
And then this is the screening is about. What age are the kids that are going to be coming in for the screening then?
So for screening, we're looking for children who will be 3 or 4 before September 1st, 2025. So DPI's standards are that for entry to 4K that you're 4 before that date of the current year. So.
Mm-hmm. And then parents can kind of choose what they want to do from there? Or is it kind of mandatory, or how does it work?
So 4K is not required, but it's really a great start, and kind of the whole purpose of 4K screening, and we like to call it 4K and developmental screening since we are screening 3-year-olds as well. It's a really good opportunity to see if there's any concerns or anything like needs that could be met, and we could kind of get the ball rolling on that, such as speech and language, any cognitive delays or things like that. And we really make sure to check over the whole child. We use a screener that's called the ASQ3, and it focuses on 5 different developmental domains like cognitive, fine motor, gross motor, personal, social, problem-solving skills. And then when they're in, we get to also assess their health with the school nurse, and we get their vision checked and their hearing checked usually. So we're looking at the whole child to make sure they're off and ready to start school and have that success.
How long does the screening usually take?
So parents will sign up for an appointment, and the appointments are an hour and a half usually. Some of that gives us a little wiggle room in there, but usually once we get the screening done with the child, we invite the parents in and we go over it with them and kind of just talk about the results and whether or not there's any further action that needs to be taken.
Do they still hop and skip?
Some of them are ready and off and doing that. Some of them might need to work on it a little bit, but, it's kind of fun. It depends. We have all gamuts coming in the morning on that day. Some are a little bit more shy because maybe they've never been in the school experience or environment, or like a daycare setting. And then you've got kids who are super happy and they're skipping on in. So we got a little bit of everything.
It's interesting. And every child is different. I know that from my own kids when they were growing up. One was just gung-ho for school and the other just didn't want to get on the bus. And they're all different, aren't they?
Yeah, but we find once they do start, they love it and enjoy it, and it's a really easy, smooth transition that we try to make for them, and just make it a really welcoming, fun, playful experience.
Jenna, could you go over some of the notes on the screening and the dates and times and all of that?
Absolutely. So we are holding our screening on Thursday, January 23rd and Friday, January 24th. For some reason, if there's an inclement weather day, we do live in Wisconsin, we'll make that up on Friday, January 31st with the same appointment times that were originally scheduled. As Brittany mentioned, our screening appointment times take about an hour and a half. So parents will sign up for a time, and Mrs. Newkirk spends time with parents during that time, and then Mrs. Penfield and myself are actually working with the students. When I say working, I mean playing. Like Brittany said, just getting to know them and looking through those developmental domains just to kind of see where the kids are at.
So if you're a parent listening and you want to coach your kids up, what are some things you're telling them that they should be ready for?
Definitely like with Brittany and I, so we will take the students into the 4K classroom to, like I said, play with them. They will be building with blocks. They'll be using markers, coloring pictures, coloring things. There's lots of toys and things that they get to use in the 4K classroom as well. Reading books, those kinds of things. I know Mrs. Shane's going to talk about that a little bit later as well. It's very important to read to your kids at home. So just kind of having that experience with those books and things is really important as well.
You can probably tell the parents that have read to their children.
Definitely. Yeah, sure. Definitely. It's important.
Very important there. So, and then in terms of when the kids get there, I'm guessing guessing they probably sometimes don't want to leave then.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. We always assure them they get to come back in the fall and have lots of time at school.
Indeed. So, you're looking forward to welcoming the new students, and then the other are the 4K students that are currently enrolled. Are they there that day or not?
Nope, they actually have school off that day.
Okay.
So we're just inviting these new kiddos. It's a brand new experience, and honestly, even with just the three of us that are screening in the room, it's a little overwhelming at times. So we just kind of keep it low key and, like I said, fun.
It used to be, of course, when I went, it was kindergarten, and you were like 6 or 7 years old, and really how times have changed.
Right. And it's all geared towards that early intervention and just trying to get kids the resources that they need early on so they can have that success all the way on through school. So
if a student comes and maybe, let's say they have like a speech problem, so do they work on that, kind of in the off season, so to speak, before school, or do they? How does that schedule then?
A lot of things are dependent on the situation, and Jenna could probably speak better on that. But we really kind of look, like I said, at all parts of the child and determine like what the next steps would be. If we're at screening and they're kind of on the fence with some things, we might say bring them back in a couple months. We'll kind of retake a look, because so much growth can happen in such a short period of time at this age. So giving them just a little bit more time can help. Otherwise, we might make referrals for those interventions to see if they would qualify, and they would go through different assessments for those particular things.
Indeed. And when they get in school, then Jenna, generally then you can focus on that area too. Then.
Yes, exactly. One thing I do want to add, so another part of our 4K team is our speech therapist. And this year we actually have speech therapy services through a service called Huddle Up. And so our speech therapist is virtual. And so another person that will be part of our team the day of screening is our speech therapist. And she will kind of go through a screener as well. Oftentimes in the little ones, speech tends to be one of the bigger concerns. And so she is very great at kind of offering suggestions and ideas that parents can utilize and try at home. Like Brittany said, they can try those for a couple months, possibly bring them back. If we still are noticing there's some speech errors there, then we can look at possibly referring a child to receive speech services. But yeah, again, like Brittany said, we just want to make sure that we're looking at the whole child and looking at all of their needs to make sure that they're ready for 4K in the fall.
How times have changed where you can do a Zoom meeting right there and have another professional in the room.
Yes, absolutely. We're very lucky.
That is amazing. Do you use that as a teaching tool sometimes during the year then as well?
Absolutely. So for any of our children at Ithaca that are receiving speech services, yes, there's a paraprofessional with the student, and then our speech therapist is on our smart TV. So it's very interactive. They play a lot of different games. It's amazing what can be done on Zoom like that. It's great.
Indeed. How long have you been at Ithaca Schools, Brittany?
Oh my goodness. I think this is my 12th year. I'm not very good at keeping track of time anymore, but it's my 12th, I think.
12th year?
Yeah.
So you've seen students go through, have they graduated yet?
Not yet. My oldest class are sophomores, so they're starting to drive, and that's a little mind-blowing to me. But it's fun to watch all of that.
Yeah.
You don't get that experience many other places, so it's pretty unique to our area and really cool, because a lot of times they'll be in clubs and they'll come back and work with kids in my room, and it's just kind of like a full circle moment. So in a couple years, I'll probably be a little emotional about that, but it's really cool to see them grow and develop into their own human beings and adults as they get bigger.
And at Ithaca, where basically you're in the same building, I mean, you're separated a little bit, but how rewarding that must be to watch that growth.
Definitely.
Yeah. And did you always want to be a teacher when you were growing up?
Actually, I wanted to go pre-med, but I just realized, like, growing up, I babysat kids a lot, and I just love children and spending time with them. They're so creative and fun, and just like that innocence, and it's really great to see. And so I kind of made a little switch, and so it's been really great.
What about you, Jenna? How long have you been with Ithaca?
I actually looked this morning, 10 years on January 5th. So coming
years.
up. Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Time flies.
Time flies. Mm-hmm. Did you always want to work with young people?
I did. Yep, absolutely. It has always been a passion of mine. I've always enjoyed kids and making a difference. Seeing that light bulb moment has always been just special, I guess you could say.
I've said it for years. If the world were like a 4K classroom, it'd be a lot better place because everybody gets along pretty well, don't they?
Yes, absolutely.
And play and everything.
That innocence that Brittany talked about.
Absolutely. Let's move over to the other side of the room. Andrea Newkirk is here as well. And Andrea, you've been around Ithaca Schools a few years. How long have you been with the district?
Since Kaylee was in kindergarten, so 13. This is my 13th year.
Oh, my
She's
goodness.
graduating.
Oh, she's and your own daughter is graduating.
Yes.
And so
yeah,
that's
my youngest.
Well, that's awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about what you do as reading specialists. What's a typical day for you, Andrea?
Well, every year actually has been different, but this year I've had the opportunity to work with special ed students teaching reading along with my title students. And so that's what the majority of my day looks like. But different years, it's been different things where I've spent more time instructional and coaching, but then this year it's been a lot with spent a lot of time with Act 20. I don't know if people have heard about Act 20, but the state has now required us to, starting mid-year, to assess students using Ames Web Plus. And then if students don't score, meet the benchmark, then we have to create a reading plan for all students in kindergarten through third grade. So right before Christmas here, we were working on getting all the reading plans ready and all the kids assessed. So that was quite a project.
Okay. And like a lot of things, everybody is at a different level.
Yes.
Does that make it difficult?
Absolutely. So we had to get all of those, and the plan is very lengthy, probably 6 to 7 pages depending on the kid and the tests that have been done. So yeah, it was quite a project.
Do you do that for all grades, or is it just certain
So
grades?
they're focusing on 4K through third grade, but the reading plans are just kindergarten through third grade. So the state has set the benchmark, which I feel like is somewhat high. So definitely it's been a change this year.
Reading is kind of the thing. I mean, if you have trouble reading, it's going to affect you your entire life, isn't it?
Absolutely, in every aspect, definitely. So reading is very important.
So what are some things that you do in terms of the screening process then you look at with these young ones coming in?
So for the 4K, well, they pretty much do the 4K with a 4K screening.
Oh.
And then Brittany did have to do the Ames Web Plus screening, which a lot of hers would be like knowing the letter names and knowing the sounds are the basic things that you can help your child get ready for. But even just reading to your child is just huge. Because then they know how to open a book, where the front cover is, that words go left to right, all of those just fundamental things.
What's the hottest book checked out of the library right now for the young ones?
That would be an Emily Zarea question. But yeah, she said though that the books checked out at the library at Ithaca has really soared within the last few years. So I'm very happy to hear that.
Isn't that good to hear, because there are so many electronic devices you can read from now.
Absolutely.
And actually hold a book in your hands. That
Absolutely.
shows promise for the future, doesn't it?
Definitely.
So what are some other things you do as instructional coach, Andrea?
Well, like I said, I'm not able to do that as much this year, but when I go into teachers' classrooms and I help if they have something they want me to observe their classroom, or if they have questions about how can I help this student, then I try to help in any of those areas.
Okay. And so then another school year here going by. They go by pretty fast. We're nearing, the end of the first semester, aren't we?
Absolutely. Yep. Just in a couple weeks here, we'll
Wow.
be done.
And do you do testing at the semester then, or?
Yeah, so the DPI recommended that we test starting before Christmas, because then you have a little bit more time than over break to get the reading plans done. But we got it done right before breaks. We got the reading plans done before break. So now we'll have more time to teach them before we have to do the next, because there'll be end of the year testing with Ames Web Plus as well.
Things have really changed since you went to college and things like that, and the whole plan and that kind of thing. Has it changed for the better?
We will see, I guess, because this is brand new for all the districts in Wisconsin. So we'll see if this. I'm hoping this makes a change. For us, I feel like we are still doing the same thing we did before, except we're just writing it all down now. Which that's the part that just takes a lot of time, is writing it all down. We always test to assess students, but we're just having to move to a new assessment tool. We always check them intermittently because we were progress monitoring them weekly, and we always progress monitor them. We just have to use the tool that Wisconsin has chosen for us to use.
Okay, interesting. We'll come back and talk more on the morning show as well. We're talking with members of the Ithaca staff today, and the screening coming up for 4K, and we'll have more in a moment. Welcome back to our morning show on WRCO Radio as we're talking about Ithaca Schools underway with a new year, and they're looking ahead to the new school year next year with 4K screening coming up. And we're also in the studio with Kathleen Shane, elementary principal. Good morning, Kathleen.
Good morning, Phil. Thanks for having us.
You bet. What's new at Ithaca?
What is new? Well, first of all, I want to thank the voters for passing our referendum. As I look back in our history, beginning in 1855, the vote shows that our residents value our school, and I think they recognize that the leadership over the years have done their best to try to keep it as lean as possible, but always keeping in mind what's best for kids. And so we have today our 4K that began in 2004 is when Ithaca first had, or 2008, sorry, for 4K, and it's just grown into this wonderful program that we start in a couple weeks with our screening.
You talk about the staff you have here too, and their longevity, which is very impressive. I think that says a lot for the district.
I was thinking about that yesterday. Companies will say how many combined years total. And just looking at those of us that are sitting here in education, we're over 70 years, just the four of us in education. And the fact that Mrs. Newkirk, Miss Whipperforth, and Miss Penfield have been here 10 plus, that shows the dedication to the Ithaca community. None of them graduated from Ithaca. They've all come here, chose Ithaca as their school to work at, and have done a fantastic job.
They have. Mm-hmm. We're into open enrollment when people start talking about that for the
so
next
that
year.
Starts in the beginning of February, and it's so open enrollment is done online during the open enroll season, which goes from early February through the end of April. Any family that lives outside the residential district of Ithaca and can provide their own transportation is welcome to open enroll. If they have any questions, they can call me. They can call Greg Herbst, our 612 principal and superintendent. They can call board members. Ask what Ithaca offers, or ask for them to have the question, this is what I'm experiencing, how would you handle it? And we can talk through and see if Ithaca's the right fit for them.
Do you have people come and visit and take a tour from time to time?
Often. In fact, just in the last 2 months, I believe we've had 5 elementary students that have come through the alternate open enrollment process. And I always encourage families to come, bring the child, meet the teacher, check out the building, let's look at the playground, and plan a scheduled date to start. So that allows us to receive the records from a previous district. It allows the student to see their teacher and meet them at least once before jumping in. I always encourage them to come on a school day so the student can see the classroom with the kids. And so, always. They're always welcome.
We talked about the screening process and the things that they look for, and how far ahead students are from where they used to be at that age, Kathleen.
And right, you and I were talking about when we started school how the screening was, and you went, and then they figured out what you could or couldn't do. And I think we use data throughout all industry, and so educational data starts at 4K with this screening. So if, as a parent, if I didn't know the expectation of a kindergarten student or a 4K student, this screening gives an opportunity to know that your child will be most successful if they can X, Y, Z. And if it means that, as a parent, what can I do? It's been mentioned, read to your child. Go to the library, like both Richland Center, Lone Rock, Plain, Spring Green. They have wonderful librarians that will guide and find books and make it a really fun experience to read. Make reading a priority in the home. Get the books in the home. Go to the thrift store and buy used books, or call your school. We often go through our library and call books, and it's what we have to do based on what the state says. And those books are free. But just making reading a priority and doing it daily encouraging grandparents to do it, or the older sibling, or the cousin that's visiting at Easter, or anytime someone can read to their child when they're this age is important.
It is. And I think you see that as elementary principal, the family, the
family
guidance.
is huge.
Yeah.
And we are willing partners. Like, I always encourage parents, if you have a concern or you have a question or you don't know what to do or where to live or what resources, call us, email us, contact your teacher, contact myself, call Sheila or Christine, we'll help you. We are a willing partner. And and Andrea mentioned the reading plan and the data. And so the state has upped the ante on the ability to read, which is good, but it's a little daunting. And so if parents are not sure what to do, call us. But the biggest thing, read to your child. Listen to your child read. And if your child is, say, 3 or 4 and has a really big interest in horses, read Misty Ashinkati. Read that novel. Like, they'll learn vocabulary, you'll have conversation, expose them to, good literature. It doesn't have to be a kid's book. It can be a book of interest above their level that you read to them and talk about whatever it is.
I think that goes for any level, though. If you find a book that interests you, whether it's sports or hunting or whatever it is, to get somebody interested in reading, that's a real goal, isn't it?
When I was teaching 3rd and 4th grade, I remember I had some students that they didn't like reading. They struggled, and so when we struggle with things, we try to avoid it. And I encourage them to bring, they got hunting magazines at home. They got Field and Stream and all this, and bring them in. And, I can't quite read it. Well, we'll figure it out. Just read that little paragraph and look at the picture and let's talk about it. And we can, what does the words mean? We can look them up. You can ask. And that, allowing them to read what they were interested in, sparked them. In fact, I saw those young men this summer playing ball, and they're in their 20s. That made a difference to them. One of them mentioned, you let us read what we wanted to, Mrs. Shane. So that's important, and parents have to know that too. If your child has an interest, find something that that you can read with them until they can read it themselves.
We get into the January months, and it's kind of we've had homecoming, we've had all kinds of fun stuff. Are there some fun things you're looking forward to here in the second semester that are coming up? What's the next big thing?
This is where this is the drudgery of school right now, right? So we've had the first semester, right? We have Halloween, we have Thanksgiving, we have the winter break. Now it's really, brass tacks, and this is where our meat of our learning comes. And with that, we also, later in the spring, we'll get into state testing, and I want to remind families and parents and caregivers the importance of regular, consistent attendance and instilling the value of learning with their child. And as we get into this where there aren't as many breaks, that they remember that this is their child's job, and it requires them to attend, it requires them to be engaged in the learning, and for parents to help us by making school a big priority for their children.
Do you still give awards for people, the students that have good attendance?
Unfortunately, since COVID, we can't.
Oh, okay.
It's still out there, and there's still... So, yeah, if children are sick, obviously, fevers and things like that. But when kids are feeling well, and, the sniffles doesn't mean they need to stay home, but when they can come with a with a good work ethic.
Post-COVID, are you seeing some of the numbers come up in terms of, some of the reading and some of the test scores and things like that?
I think so. We're still, and I forget which grade was the COVID, if they were the 3rd or the 4th grade. We still, because it was more than 1 year that we were on again, off again, and the kids that were in 4K, kindergarten, 1st grade, even second, those few years of COVID, that's when we really learned to read. And so, as Andrea or somebody had mentioned that, by 3rd grade, if you can't read at level by 3rd grade, it's hard. I think you even mentioned it, Phil. So we're still working through those children that didn't get that consistent instruction because of COVID, the restrictions around COVID, but then the ongoing illnesses after it.
We talked about if there's a concern with a student, maybe speech or reading, whatever it is. Do you have some programs for gifted and talented, I guess, for lack of a better term?
So, and that's part of what Andrea does with the teachers. They have weekly, each grade level meets once a week and look at their data and then intentionally plan for, okay, what am I going to do a little differently for students that aren't quite where they should be, and what am I going to do differently for those that are at or above their level? What can I, as a teacher, what can you do differently to enrich that student's academic experience?
And I know that you do well at Ithaca with forensics, and math team has done well, and things like that.
Right, and so that's where what we do in the elementary is so important, because it leads into those extensions in high school where, students are recognized for their ability to speak or to write or to lead groups. Those kinds of things are really important as kids graduate and move on into adulthood. So what we do to ensure they can read and do math, makes a huge difference. And so, again, the importance of regular, consistent attendance, engagement, and partnering with their teacher. If the parent or caregiver is concerned in any way, they need to reach out sooner than later, because we want to fix what their concern is.
I know Ithaca's had a phenomenal forensics program through the years, too. Do you still have high school kids in forensics come and give their speech for some of the younger grades?
I always encourage that, because it's good practice for the high school student, but it's also a way for the elementary, especially the upper elementary and middle school, to see this is what I can do when I'm older, and that I know that high school student, because I've gone to their basketball game, they go to my church, they live near me. If they can do it, I can do it. So yeah, I do encourage. Emily and Julie Thompson lead our forensics, and I always encourage them to have the kids practice with younger students, so that awareness of that activity is available.
I think about, as you were talking about, Bob Pilla, the late Bob Pilla, who was, forensics and English and everything. But I remember bringing our first child, Macy, in for screening, and he was in the hall, and he was laughing, and he said, "It's Ithaca's circle of life," because it was 10 or so years after we'd been in school, and things like that. So
yeah,
good memories.
It is, and so I'm a graduate, and I enjoy seeing kids that I taught or went to school with, their kids, grandkids, some of them are coming back, and it just reassures me of the longevity of Ithaca as a district. Like that hometown, know each other well, care for each other, whether it be the Ithaca Lions doing their pancake breakfasts or coming in and helping us. We have a student that needed glasses. The Lions took care of it, like everything. And so that care for our kids in our community is it's living at the Ithaca District.
The school is the center of the community, indeed.
I believe that, yeah.
Yeah. And again, with your referendum passing, things are...
Definitely.
Future's pretty bright then.
I think so.
Yeah.
And again, we have to, as a district, though, we have to make sure we, work hard to do only what is necessary, but still keep in mind what's best for the kids, so that we're not exceeding what we said we were going to spend, because taxes have gone up, right? Houses were reassessed this year. Everything costs more, and we have to be cognizant of that with all of our decisions.
Indeed. Let's circle back across the room here. Brittany, tell us about a typical day for the 4K kids.
So for each group, when they arrive, they kind of do their getting ready for the day routines, hanging up their stuff, coming in and making their lunch choices, things like that, turning in their folders. So they become pretty independent pretty quickly. And then, we have our group time at the carpet where we're, doing songs together, kind of welcoming each other, sharing, things like that, reading. We break off into small groups where I'm working on more targeted skills with students, having to do with math concepts or letters colors and sounds, things like that. And then the others, while they're waiting for their small group, they get that playtime, which is unstructured. They get to choose, and that's a big part of it, and learning as well as them being able to choose what they're doing. I have a paraprofessional in the room who's also helping us with screening, Deb Manning. She's been in it way longer than I have. She's phenomenal. She's the best of the best. And she will work on activities with students at that time as well. Sometimes they might do more fun things like crafts. Sometimes she's going to work on skills with them as well. And then we really make most of that little time that we're together. It's a jam-packed full time, that 3 hours that we're doing instruction. And then both groups have lunch, and then they head home. That's a typical day. Sometimes they do have specials like library and Fayette as well.
Some schools go all day 4K. Do you see advantages of going half day?
So we used to be 2 full days a week prior for each group. And the reason why, and actually Andre and Jenna were both on the team with me, kind of getting that change made. We found, especially in the winter months, the inconsistency of the schedule with days off and things like that. One group could have missed up to almost 2 weeks of school if the snow fell on the wrong day of the week. So we really wanted that consistency and practicing those skills every day. And I've seen a dramatic improvement as far as just the ability to keep working on those things throughout the week versus just a couple isolated times.
Okay. So the screening process is coming up. How do people sign up for that or get an appointment?
So we've kind of gone digital the last couple of years, and it's kind of streamlined the process. So if you're interested, and this includes children within the district, children outside of the district, as Ms. Shane mentioned, with open enrollment period starting soon, it's a good chance for anyone who would like their child to attend Ithaca Schools to sign up. And you can do that by going to the Ithaca Public Schools Facebook page. We have a post that's pinned at the top of the page where there are 2 links. So it's a 2-step process. One of the links takes you to a registration form that you will fill out. It's pretty brief, just giving some general information about your child and how to get a hold of you and send you materials. The second is a Sign Up Genius link where they'll actually sign up for the appointment slot that you'll bring your child in for. So after you complete those 2 steps, I'm going to reach out with a parent questionnaire that just, is asking for more information about your child. When did they meet their milestones growing up? Were there any learning difficulties in the family that we should be aware of? Just different information that can be helpful for us to know, kind of some backstory. And then after that, we'll get out some forms to you in the mail, which would include the ages and stages questionnaire that I mentioned earlier, the ASQ3. You'll complete that with your child at home and fill out their responses and bring that back with you to screening so we can complete it with them as well. And we kind of compare answers and kind of go over the results together. We'll also need an enrollment form, and that's a 2-page double-sided document that's required for 4-year-olds to start school in the fall. And then we ask that you bring a certified birth certificate just for viewing purposes. We don't need a copy. We're not going to hang on to it. We're just going to look at the date and verify, and that's it. But really, that's the 3 main things. Our school nurse will go over some more information that you need to have ready before the start of the school year.
So when they arrive, do they go through the main office then?
Yeah, so Mrs. Manning, our paraprofessional in the room, she'll meet you at the door and greet you and kind of show you to our screening locations. One of the first places you stop usually is Mrs. Newkirk's room, kind of get adjusted, and she's got some toys out for the kids to start playing with there. From that time on, Jenna and I will come grab the students and bring them back to the 4K room, so that'll be their time to kind of experience that. We understand that it can be kind of overwhelming at some times, so if a parent needs to tag along for a little bit, we understand, and we're very good about working with that and understand that as well. But we also want to mention too, it can be kind of daunting, like Ms. Shane said, not knowing, what does my child need to know? Like, where should they be? I have no clue. This is a great opportunity to come find out and talk to us about what's typical, what's not, and kind of be reassured that way. So even if you're not sure if your child's ready to start school in the fall, maybe they're a late summer birthday and you just feel that they're not ready, maybe they're not potty trained yet, that's okay. We want you to bring your child in and kind of just see where they're at, and those are all things we can work on together.
Yeah, I wondered about that, about the child births, because you kind of went over, who's eligible and that kind of thing, but a late summer birthday as opposed to somebody born in the spring, there is quite a difference sometimes.
Yeah, so really you can have children who are almost a full year apart. And in fact, I've had that before. And so a lot happens in a year of development, especially with young children. So it can be quite a span, but it's a really good opportunity. Even if they're not going to be getting those letters and sounds down right away, it's a great opportunity for them to learn school routines, how to interact with others. Social emotional learning is one of the most important aspects of what we do in 4K. So that's a really big chunk of it that is good for any of them.
Jenna, what is your responsibility then on the screening day?
So like Brittany had mentioned, Brittany and I each take the students and we kind of go through that ASQ3 again. Again, there's some times where kiddos, of course, are a lot more comfortable with parents at home. So there's times where, they're not really into it, doing it during the day. And there's other times where the kids are, very interested and want to show us what they know. We also obviously kind of take into consideration that we're completely, new people to them. We're strangers. And so it's very normal for kids to not maybe show us what they actually know because, again, it's a very short time. And that's where kind of we had mentioned that rescreening or coming back or giving parents resources is really important because the last thing we want to do is put a label on a child or say something, in just an hour and a half's time. And so that's where it's really important for us to kind of work and talk as a team to determine the needs that the child may have, or maybe there are none. But again, to give them the next steps to make sure that their child can be successful at school.
If you have a child that doesn't want to be separated from the parent on the day of the screening, can the parent sit in?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. So there's oftentimes, where the parents come along. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting into the 4K classroom and seeing, the toys and the materials that we're going to use. And once they start playing, they kind of open up and the parents can sneak away. Sometimes the parents can't sneak away, and that's okay too. We make do with what the child is willing to do, I guess, and give us.
Mm-hmm. Somebody mentioned Head Start. Are you involved with that?
Yeah, so I did kind of want to shout out a couple other community resources. So Birth to 3 and Head Start will both be at our screening days. They come and kind of explain what services they can offer to our community as well. Mrs. Shane touched on the Lions Club. They're wonderful. They do our vision screenings for all of our students. And then also Mrs. Newkirk reaches out to our local libraries. So again, Spring Green, Plain, Lone Rock, Richland Center here. Just so that, again, parents are aware of what's going on in the community and how they can get their kids involved at the local libraries.
Again, the dates for the screening?
The dates are Thursday, January 23rd and Friday, January 24th.
Okay, So mark that on the calendar. Andrea, let's talk a little bit about your role again and your role as far as reading and maybe one of the like a pep talk for parents, so to speak, right?
Well, for the 4K screening day, I am with the parents, and so I do have materials available for them to help their child with letters and sounds, and then I do reach out to the local libraries, as Jenna talked about, and so that parents can know when they have their story hours at their libraries or other. A lot of times they have really fun activities, Lego Day or movie day or other fun activities that the parents can attend at the local libraries. So that's what I do on those days. But my regular scheduled day is I'm working with students and helping them learn to read. So I think again the biggest thing that you can do is read with your child. That is the biggest thing that you can do. And if the parent is excited about reading and the parent is excited about what they're reading, then the child is usually excited as well. So, and if the kids can see the parents reading their own books as well, or newspaper or whatever they're reading, that's also, you're just showing your child that you love education, you love learning, you love to read as well.
Rewarding work for you, because when the light bulb goes on for a student, I would imagine that's just got to make your day, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I love it, yes.
No doubt. Kathleen, some things you'd like to add today?
Well, I want to piggyback off of Andrea's comment about reading, because I think of it as something you enjoy as an adult. And so let's say even as a child, you want to be a star basketball player, right? You want to be the best wrestler. Well, how do you get there? You practice. And you practice consistently. It's not you practice once a month. You're not going to be a state champ if you practice once a month. If you practice daily and put all your effort into your practice time, there's a really good chance you can go to the level you're achieving. Same with reading. So if it's a first grader who is bringing home books they've practiced in school and the assignment is for them to practice again, the act of rereading something has been proven to be effective, whether it's a first grader or a 12th grader or someone who is bought a new appliance and is installing it to save money, right? How many times do you read the manual before you understand exactly what you have to do? If you read it once and put it together, it's not going to work. Same with a child that wants to master some video game. They don't play it once. They want to play it all the time until they get really good at it. Same with reading. And it might not, the act of reading initially might not be as engaging as a video game, right? Because that video is that constant stimulation, but the act of reading and the practice, if the parent shows enthusiasm and chooses books the child wants to read or the child gets to choose, that spark will come along with what the goal is at the end, to be really good at reading and to be able to do anything you want to do.
Some jobs use reading more than any. My job, that's all I do. But, but every job you have is going to require some reading, right?
Every job, whether it be the beginning of an application to completing whatever task the boss puts in front of you, it's going to require some reading or some writing or communicating in general, right? The more you read, the better you can communicate because your thoughts are fluid. If reading is hard and you don't do it, the way we speak often is demonstrated by choppy speaking, not using the correct technical terms. So just the act of reading and writing makes a huge difference. And I believe that. And if kids will put hours and hours and hours into a video game, we need to put just as many, if not more, hours into the act of reading so they can be successful as grown-ups.
That's good parenting.
It is, technology has changed our lives. I mean, there's research that says reading a book in a book form sticks longer than reading it online. That act of going back and rereading again, it's proven that makes a difference in your understanding of whatever you're reading, whether it be for enjoyment or for a job or you're learning a new something that you're reading about. I encourage parents to limit screen time. I encourage them not to get cell phones until children are truly able to handle what can come with that. It's just open, right? Once you have a cell phone and Wi-Fi and connectivity, things can happen. And if children aren't maturity-wise ready, or parents aren't ready for what their child can be shown through that device, I encourage parents to hold off. Let them be kids, how to get ready for 4K, free play, some risk-taking outside. So let your child climb that tree. Right? There is a doctor if they fall, but teach them that, how are you going to get down now? Playing with other kids, that give and take and sharing, having a conversation and the parent actively listening, that back and forth, more than just do this, do that, don't talk to me, be quiet. That active conversation is important. So I know that was a lot.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So we're talking about the beginning of the school career at Ithaca. You're going to come back later this month. You're going to talk about some high school students and some things.
Yeah, I'm excited. You've offered to interview our CTE teachers, and I'm excited for that. Ithaca's got some really great things going on in our ag, our tech ed, and our business. Just some really cool things that I want the community to know about. And again, we're a small school and we're limited staff, but we are listening to our families. We're listening to what the industries want from students and trying to meet those needs and giving kids opportunities.
Yeah, we look forward to that. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you all in here today. So what's the number one song at 4K? Which one gets the best response?
It's not Baby Shark anymore.
Not Baby Shark. I'm not asking you to sing it, but what's number one?
I don't know. A lot of Taylor Swift going on. Take it off, probably. Really? I don't know.
But you sing to them, right? Or you sing?
Yeah,
with the
we
group?
sing together. So a lot of, like, our morning song is Rise and Shine. That's probably, they always are ready for that one in the morning. It's a great way to start our day. So,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good. I'd like to be a mouse in the corner sometimes because I think you have
You're
a lot
welcome
of fun.
anytime.
Yeah.
As I say to anybody else, if you want to come see what we do, please come check it out.
That'd be awesome. Thanks for coming in today. We have in the studio with us today Mrs. Brittany Penfield along with Jenna Whipperforth, and we're talking with Andrea Newkirk and also Kathleen Shane, Ithaca staff, and we'll be back with more coming up on Monday on The Morning Show.